Now, what I understand is from these verses is we should be so grateful and so blessed and so fortunate that we in this life get to think about spiritual practice at all, to think about God, to think about love or devotion, or to be on this spiritual path. Like Krishna is saying that that is the fortune of lifetimes of good deeds, that we even have this ability to contemplate the words of the Bhagavad Gita, or to even think about this path. Why are you guys here, sitting here, exploring this ancient spiritual Sanskrit text? This is you, you know, your lifetimes of good deeds have brought you to explore this sacred text, or to be called into spiritual practice or spiritual life at all. Lifetimes and lifetimes. People tuning in from India or Germany, or in US or wherever you are. Why are we here exploring Krishna's words of the Gita? Because we are seeking something within our hearts. We are seeking something that is so profound and so beautiful. And that is not because you're very intelligent people. I'm sure you all are. But what Krishna is saying is because that's grace. That's grace of your good karma and your good blessings, that you've had that within from your lifetimes of good deeds, that you're on spiritual path. I'm going to go back a few verses like we always do every week. To verse 17 of chapter 6. The discipline of yoga, which removes all suffering, only arises for one who is regulated in food and recreation, whose activities are moderate, and who is disciplined. This translated as one is regulated, one who is moderate, one who is balanced in sleep and wakefulness. One who is said to have attained to the discipline of yoga when the controlled mind has become fixed on the soul, on the Atman. That one alone is said to be free of all desires. And I think here there's beautiful lines about being moderate, being balanced, not sleeping too much, not sleeping too little, not eating too much, not eating too little, not being too money minded, but not also being embracing complete poverty. I think the Gita here is very much talking about what the Buddha describes as the middle path, being moderate in one's activities, being balanced, not going to extremities, so that we can regulate our livelihood and also balance and integrate spiritual practice into that. Very beautiful verse, very beautiful example. As a lamp situated in a windless place never wavers, so the yogi who disciplines the mind never wavers. Just think of that lamp in a windless place with all the movement of our lives. As I said earlier, there is when we come here together in this satsang and we have the Gita, we can be a lamp in a windless place. We can be present for a short while. And then we have all of the stuff of the world that comes around in between the Gita practice and then being here and being present. So we know that the world is not windless. But Krishna is describing in the Gita how we should be still in like a lamp in a windless place. So our Atman is perfect, and our Atman and our soul is ever present and ever still and ever happy, ever blissful. but the world is constantly moving. So how to live within that environment? The yogi who disciplines oneself never wavers. When all thoughts come to an end, blocked by the practice of yoga, one finds satisfaction seeing the soul in oneself through oneself. One sees oneself through oneself. This could be understood in many different ways, and some people say it use Atman as mind here. I like to keep it open because Atman is, you know, beyond the defined thing. So if it's spiritual in quality, you see yourself through yourself. You don't need anybody else to help you understand who the self is. You don't need even the mind. Just the Atman can see itself. There is a beautiful verse in the Ramcharitmanas where Ram talks about love and where it's spoken about the language that Rama understands. And Ram knows only love. And I really resonate with that verse and this verse in the Gita because our heart can only understand heart. Love can only understand love. Mind is a separate. Its mind is of this world. Mind is of the physical plane. Mind is up and down, hot and cold. Atman is love. And so often when we can find ourselves being frustrated, for example, we can remind ourselves that that is just happening up here. But here is always still, always perfect. And one of the verses a group of us were contemplating earlier today was that we we find ourselves in life always chasing something or always trying to go somewhere, or I really need to do this, or the next thing I do, it need to achieve this, isn't it? Like we start in primary school and then we go to high school and then maybe to college and then to university, and then we go and get our first job, from step to step up the conveyor belt all the way to the funeral parlor, chasing something or the other. But yet the Atman is ever still, is ever perfect. And I believe the spiritual perspective is one where we can still be moving through life, still be doing our work, still be doing our duty, but feel like it's just perfect, isn't it? Like where we are right now is just absolutely where we are supposed to be, here together in satsang, exploring Bhagavad Gita, exploring the beauty of these oceanic words that can fill our hearts with spaciousness and awareness and love. And then we do our work in the world from that place where everything is perfect. Then no stress. Stress is here. Atman is peace, happiness, and love. And so again, that beautiful example that Ram Dass often used to speak about when he was driving a car and he would be reciting Ram, Ram, Ram as he's driving, or even singing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, and he's driving the car, and then somebody cuts him up on the motorway, and he's like, bah, starts swearing at that person, or just about to swear at that person, because that person cut him up, and then you just remember slowly, oh, okay, let me come back to that place of peace and Ram. And so we're going to get lost in the world. The mind's going to take over and we're going to lose ourselves into that. But this practice and the sadhana that we do and the spiritual meditation and regulation of eating, regulation of sleep that Krishna is telling us can help us to stay balanced. These are all things that Krishna here is describing physical practice now of the meditation or sadhana that we can perform. So I think regulation, keep bringing it back to Ram, keep bringing it back to Ram, and and that's the way to really live within that divine reality. When all thoughts come to an end, being blocked by the presence of the practice of yoga, one finds satisfaction seeing the soul in oneself through oneself. Transcending the reach of the senses, the yogi experiences unbounded happiness. Who doesn't want that? It's such a wonderful idea. Unbounded happiness, grasped through spiritual perception. Buddhi graham. Buddhi graham. Graham is the English word grasped. Spiritual perception, by grasp through spiritual perception. Being so fixed, one never deviates from the truth. One never deviates from the truth. Upon achieving this, one thinks there is no greater gain, being firmly situated. Yasmin stito, being situated firmly. One is never swayed from the truth. Such a position is called the discipline of yoga. Here is the cessation of all misery and must be practiced with determination and an untiring heart. So we understand that there is this state beyond the rushing movements of the mind, which the Yoga Sutras describe, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So the first verse of the Yoga Sutra says, Atha Yoga Anushasanam. This now I will describe the state of yoga. And then the first verse says, Yoga is Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is the calming of the movements and the fluctuations of the mind, where our mind's just constantly rushing here and there. And for those of us who work with computers, you can often see how many tabs some people have. I know a few of you will be smiling and laughing in the back because I've seen how many tabs you have on your screens. And it's, whoa, look at the movements of the mind. How many movements we go from one tab to another tab, or some people, even when reading, watching one video on the screen, will be scrolling through 3 or 4 videos at a moment, with so many videos on social media, mind going here, 1 minute looking at a video in India, then another minute in the US, and another minute is news, another minute is comedy, mind going everywhere, chasing everywhere apart from within our own hearts. So the yoga situation says when the mind can be completely stilled and returned back into its natural state of stillness and oneness with the divine. All misery will be ceased in this state. And 2 words that Krishna uses. What are they? Determination and an untiring heart. Well, the heart we know doesn't tire. You can constantly have that passion and that desire and that boundless desire for spiritual progress, for love for all beings, for compassion. And that's what we see the example of Hanuman, untiring and determined. So I really resonate with this verse 23 of chapter 6, because Krishna is telling us that we need these 2 qualities for spiritual practice. One, we must be having determination, because the pulls of the world are too much. They will call us away. Come and enjoy this pleasure over here, or come and experience this new thing, or come and buy this new phone which has all the latest gadgets and so on, and explore this thing, rather than the inner practice of self-discovery or awareness of who we truly are, which requires what? Determination and an untiring heart. Okay, now Krishna continues, verse 24 and 25, to give us instruction of what we need to do. completely abandoning all desires that spring from the mind, sankalpa, mental conceptions, those mental conceptions, controlling the senses on all sides by the intellect, one should gradually, but inevitably, bring the mind to rest through the use of firm intelligence and focus the mind on the Atman alone. So we have determination, we have an untiring heart for this. We so want it. We want love of God, to be in God's presence. We want to have that state of meditation, that purity, that connection to the divine. To live in that love, we need determination and untiring heart, and then we need to control our minds because the minds are running everywhere. The thoughts are running in every direction and pulling our minds, which pull our intellect. Our intellect pulls the whole body and the senses and the desire, and then we are lost, abandoned, as we learned earlier. From So we use our intelligence and focus the mind on the soul alone. From wherever the fickle mind and unsteady mind wavers, it should be brought under the under control of intelligence. This is very beautiful. For supreme happiness comes to the yogi whose mind and passions are calmed, who is sinless and who has attained Brahman. Ultimately, it says, become one with Brahman. But depending on how you have your philosophical view, this verse can be interpreted in different ways. It could be, the actual word is Brahma Bhutam Akalmasam. So actually becoming the state of Brahman, becoming one with God. For supreme happiness comes to the yogi whose mind and passion are calm, who is sinless and who has attained the situation of Brahman. Now, one who is not calm cannot attain Brahman. One who is undisciplined, who is doing wrong acts in the world, evil acts, harmful acts, horrible things, here Krishna is saying, cannot attain Brahman because the mind is lost and it's chasing everything in the world. So that it's in the clouds, not going to the sun. We need to go back to the sun, realize first the warmth of the sun, and then move back towards that. But if we're chasing the clouds all the time, keep catching all these different things in the world, then we cannot have that love of God. Always disciplining oneself. The yogi whose sins are removed is easily in contact with Brahman, easily in contact. And enjoys. What do we enjoy when in contact with Brahman? Boundless happiness. Boundless happiness. I wish boundless happiness on you all, and myself, and all of us, and all beings throughout the world. What a wonderful idea! Uh, I think one day we should write. Maybe I could work on a book which is called Boundless Happiness. What does that mean? It would be a lovely idea. The Gita actually talks about it quite often. Sukham asnute, in that verse, boundless happiness. One who is engaged in the discipline of yoga and who possesses the vision of equality sees God in all beings and all beings within the Supreme Soul, within God. It's worth taking some time for us to go through some of the Sanskrit of that verse, which is so beautiful. Sarva bhutastam atmanam sarva bhutani cha atmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. One who is engaged in the discipline of Brahman, of yoga, possess, possesses the vision of equality sees the Supreme Soul in all beings and all beings within the Supreme Soul. The word used is Atman here in the verse. Sarva Bhuta Stam. Sarva means all, Bhuta means living being, Stam within, Atman. Within all living beings is the Atman. And one who sees the Atman within all beings and the all beings within the Atman has equality. The word used is equality. Sama darshana. Darshan, we know the word. Sama means equal. Equal darshan. All of us on this call, all one. Sub ek. As Maharaji says, can we really get to a place of um, I believe this is what the essence of what Hinduism is all about. The goal. Or the spiritual path, or the essence of all spiritual paths, regardless of religion. Samadarshanaha. See all beings equally, all as God's children. This is all the kingdom of heaven, not based on who believes what. Equal darshan. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam chamai pasyati tasyaham na pranasyami sa cha me na pranasyati. The person who is established in equal vision, equality, samadarshanaha, as we mentioned. Oh, sorry, I need to go back one verse. For one who sees me everywhere and who sees all things in me, I am never lost, nor is that person ever lost to me. For one who sees me everywhere and who sees all things in me, I am never lost, and nor is that one ever lost to me. God will never let us go. We are always held. We are always one. When I was with Siddhi Ma in Rishikesh many years ago, there was a group of us sitting on the floor by her feet. It was a perfect day. And she was sitting in the courtyard on a chair, and people were asking her questions. And it was very rare because she would just not do this. She never positioned herself in that position of a teacher who was, giving lectures or answering questions in that way. And it was extraordinary to be there. And she said, "You are all Maharaji's family, and Maharaji will never let you go. He will always take care of you, like you're always taken care of." And I just felt that blanket, that Maharaji's beautiful blanket, just waving over each one of us, in that way. And you have that feeling that for one who is in that bhav, that love, that emotion of bhakti, you are in God and God is in you, and God will never let you go. Whoever or whatever God is, that thing, that being beyond our minds that is holding us in such perfection. She said that on that day in the things. And I remember of all of she spoke for about an hour and a half with everybody down there. But the one thing that I remember every single day is Maharaji will never let you go. And it was roasting hot, in Rishikesh, summer, and extremely hot that day. And she said, "Maharaji will never let you go." And that was like, I knew that in my heart of hearts. It wasn't something that was here. It was here that this is perfect. It's exactly how it should be. And even to this day, I'm sitting here in the UK, or I'm going to work somewhere, or I'm doing any activity, I always feel held, always feel within that presence. It never goes away. It's just something that is and doesn't require mental you, you know, the intellect to decide anything. It just is perfect. I'll read it again. Verse 30 of chapter 6. Another one for the wall when you print out these beautiful quotations. For one who sees me everywhere, and for one who sees all things in me, I am never lost, nor is one ever lost to me. The person who is established in equality of vision, who worships me in all beings, is a yogi and resides in me in all circumstances. Maharaji said, better to see God everywhere than try to figure it out. Right? We might try to say, okay, this is God. This is God. No, this is God. No, Maharaji said, just try to see God everywhere and you'll realize that God is everywhere. God is in all beings. There's a beautiful verse. Actually, just 15 minutes ago, or maybe an hour ago, sorry, we were reading from the Kena Upanishad. A Kena Upanishad means, Kena means by who? By what? And the verse in Sanskrit said, Yadi manyase subedeti dabaramevapi nunam tvam brahmana rupam yadasya deve svatanu mimamsyam. And basically what that means is, Yadi manyase subedeti, if you think you know who that is, well, maybe it's just a little bit of what you think that God that exists within your mind. Or maybe it's a little bit of the God that exists out there. But that's just a small part of what God is. So maybe you should consider more carefully before having such a strong view about what God is, the nature of God. It's really powerful because the Kena Upanishad is saying, well, I know you think that you know what God is, but think further, contemplate more, keep expanding your vision of God to include more gods and more God of God, because God is greater than what we could ever conceive with the mind. Cana, by who? It's just prompting us to think and think again. Okay, maybe reading that verse 30 again. For one who sees me everywhere and who sees all things in me, I am never lost, nor is that one ever lost to me. The person who's established in equal vision, who worships me in all beings, is a yogi and resides in me in all circumstances. O Arjuna, that's you and me. O Arjuna, whether you are in happiness or whether you are in distress, you can be regarded as a perfect yogi if you perceive the uniform nature of the soul under all conditions. Seeing the soul in all conditions, seeing the Atman as one, seeing that divinity within the world in all situations, like distress, like there is a terrorist attack, or there is war, there is fighting, there is deforestation, which is awful and destroying the climate and nature, but we still see it all as one. See it all as perfect and do whatever we can to serve God in all beings. Serving from that place that we will do whatever we can to relieve suffering of people in all situations. And if we do it from that place of love, then it's not from a place of anxiety. It's not from a place of selfishness. It's not from a place of desire. It's only from a place of devotion, from offering, from love. So we constantly stay within that situation. Um, Very difficult. Arjuna will go on to say, I can't remember the verse, but he will say, Krishna, this is harder than catching the wind. That verse will come. But he will kick back at Krishna, which is beautiful. And we will always kick back as well and say, okay, this spiritual stuff is too difficult. I can't do it. But then we just keep coming back lovingly, back to Ram, back to the name, and going again. Remember that Krishna told us earlier, we need what? Determination and an untiring heart for this path, this spiritual journey. Okay, it actually comes now. The thing that I was talking about. This is Arjuna speaking now. This is our response to this high-minded spiritual discourse that Krishna has been giving all these verses. Arjuna says, "Oh Madhusudana," which is the name of Krishna, "due to the unsteady nature of my mind, I do not see any practical application in what you are saying of this yoga of equal vision that you have described. For my mind, or for the mind, is unsteady, churning, and possessed of great strength, but also intensity. Oh, Krishna, to control the mind is more difficult than controlling the wind." I didn't realize that the verse was coming literally in two verses. I just forgot that it was there, but that's from reading 50 different Gitas and just going through it again and again. Um, yeah, that's really beautiful. That Arjun is really kicking back and saying, "Look, you're asking me to control the wind here," which is basically you're asking me to do the impossible. Let's see Krishna's response. Just going back to what Arjuna says, stitim stiram, stitim stiram, practical application or permanent foundation. Yeah. So he actually, just to go back to what Arjuna is saying here, he's saying that this is beautiful, but where's the practical application of this? And I really love this because it's how do we use this great spiritual thing, this wisdom or this idea, and apply it now? I'm on a battlefield. I'm facing all of this difficulty in my life, and you're telling me to see everybody equally, to love everyone, to be perfectly happy in hot and cold. But I'm in a war right now. I have to fight these daily battles that I have, this struggle. I have to pay the rent. I have to deal with people in my life who make it difficult, awkward bosses, and work that I need to do, which is challenging, and dealing with people in my life that might be challenging. I have to do all that stuff. What you're saying is harder than catching the wind. And Krishna responds, "Without a doubt, O great armed son of Kunti, the mind is unsteady and difficult to control. But with practice and with detachment, it can be controlled." The first thing he says is practice. We use that term to describe when we are doing sadhana, we're chanting kirtan or puja or meditation, or karma yoga, the path of service and selfless service. All of these are considered sadhana, which I consider spiritual practice. And here Krishna is saying, with spiritual practice and detachment, it can be controlled. So two things: abhyasena and vairagena. Abhyasena is the abhyasa, the spiritual practice, and vairagena means having a detached state. So you're almost detaching yourself from being in the thing, like just taking that witness view, holding back a little bit and being that position of the witness that I know this is getting pulled everywhere in the world. I know I'm being pulled to respond when someone says something mean to me. But how can I pause? Can I be windless for a moment and then respond from a more balanced perspective, knowing that I am the Atman, I am the spirit? Without a doubt, the mind is unsteady and difficult to control, but with practice and detachment, it can be controlled. Without self control, the discipline of yoga is indeed hard. But for one who endeavors for self control through proper means, this is possible. But this is just my opinion. Krishna, God incarnating is saying words like, "Well, this is just my opinion. You have to figure that out for yourself." He's giving that clue that it's up to you. Ultimately, look, I'm not going to tell you this is what you need to do. This is my opinion. Really sharing that we have that free will. Arjuna asks another question. Now he's worried. He's still in that feeling of inadequacy that we all fall into, that feeling of fear and inadequacy. I'm not perfect. I'm not able to do this. Oh Krishna, what is the fate of the unsuccessful yogi who endowed with faith, but with a mind that has departed from the discipline of yoga and does not obtain perfection? What happens if I'm not perfect at this? Like I'm trying my best. You know that, Krishna. I'm meditating 5 days a week. I'm trying to be a good human being. I'm not doing so much, but I'm not hurting people. I'm doing puja. I'm chanting. I join kirtan once a month, and this is all happening. What's my fate? Um, a yogi who is unsuccessful both in this world and the next, who is bewildered on the path of Brahman, not destroyed like a cloud, cut away with no position. Okay. Is this still Arjuna speaking? O great armed Yom, O great armed one, is that yogi who is unsuccessful in both this world and the next, but who is bewildered on the path of Brahman, hasn't achieved enlightenment, not destroyed like a cloud cut away with no position? O Krishna, please dispel my doubts. Other than you, no one can remove my uncertainty. There is that feeling of surrender here that Arjuna is now surrendering to Krishna. He's surrender. Like Ram Dass once said to me like this: surrender, 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 surrender. Like 4 times he kept repeating that, like, give up your mind to your heart. And Arjuna seems to be here saying that, okay, I know I'm confused. I know this is not working for me, but if I offer it to Maharaji, offer it to God, offer it to Krishna, let the divine flow through me. Please dispel my doubt. Other than you, no one can remove my uncertainty. And Krishna used beautiful words to explain. Another one, verse 40. You can again put on the wall. Your houses will be filled with Gita quotes. I hope if some of you invite me to your home, you'll have printouts of Gita quotes all over the world of these various verses that we're highlighting. Oh Partha, which means, oh beloved, my friend. Krishna says, my friend, one who does good in the world is never overcome by evil, either in this life or the life to come. After achieving the worlds of the pious and dwelling there for countless years, unsuccessful yogi is born in the home of the pure and fortunate. And then again, the yogi may be born in families of enlightened practitioners of yoga. Indeed, a birth of this kind is exceedingly rare in the world. Now, what I understand is from these verses is we should be so grateful and so blessed and so fortunate that we in this life get to think about spiritual practice at all, to think about God, to think about love or devotion, or to be on this spiritual path. Like Krishna is saying that that is the fortune of lifetimes of good deeds, that we even have this ability to contemplate the words of the Bhagavad Gita, or to even think about this path. Why are you guys here, sitting here, exploring this ancient spiritual Sanskrit text? This is you, your lifetimes of good deeds have brought you to explore this sacred text, or to be called into spiritual practice or spiritual life at all. Lifetimes and lifetimes. People tuning in from India or Germany or, in US or wherever you are. Why are we here exploring Krishna's words of the Gita? Because we are seeking something within our hearts. We are seeking something that is so profound and so beautiful. And that is not because you're very intelligent people. I'm sure you all are. But what Krishna is because that's grace. That's grace of your good karma and your good blessings, that you've had that within from your lifetimes of good deeds, that you're on spiritual path. And other people won't be on that because they might be on a different journey or in a different place on their spiritual journey. And there's something that I heard once in India, somebody say to me, Bhais ko Bhagvat mat sikhao. Like they say that in Hindi, don't teach the Bhagavad to, well, it's really referring to the Bhagavatam, the Srimad Bhagavat Purana, which is the life stories of Krishna, not the Bhagavad Gita. But Bhais ko Bhagvat mat sikhao means don't teach the Bhagavad to a buffalo. So don't try to preach this to people who are not ready for it, or don't share spiritual wisdom with people who are in the mode of greed or anger or not willing to contemplate these ideas or things because it's going to bounce off them or it's going to bounce off their heads when you're really about the heart. So we are here. We're very fortunate, precious satsang, precious gathering of beautiful people exploring spiritual practice. In this situation, the yogi retains contact with consciousness from previous lives and again strives for perfection. By dint of all of your previous practice, your previous karma and good work and good deeds, you're automatically continuing to elevate yourself. Even one who merely desires to understand the discipline of yoga stands above the flowery words of the Vedas. Again, the Vedas are the sacred texts of Hinduism. Krishna is criticizing them in a sense. He's saying, well, even if you know the words of the Vedas, but the one who practices just a dent of spiritual action or good deeds or practice like goodness will continue to grow. There is no loss on this path. Like even a small piece of uh, spiritual practice is good for us. The yogi who is cleansed of all sin, who endeavors for great effort, and who has achieved perfection after many births, attains Brahma, Brahmaiti Vartate, the spiritual supreme destination, the goal of our life, to be one with God, to be in that sacred divine life, to be in God's presence. The following verses will go on to describe the greatness of a yogi, what the yogi is like, again, exploring that nature. But I think this middle section of chapter 6, where we're a third of the way through the Gita, really tells us about how we can start thinking about achieving a spiritual state through determination, an unbounded heart. We can live within God's presence, and even a little bit of practice is worth everything. Every little Ram Nam that we chant, every uh, act of kindness, every act of charity, every act of telling the truth over telling a lie, every time we eat a meal that is less violent, or not choose to drink or consume products that can sway our mind, or to be more moderate in our practice of life when we're choosing a more sattvic approach, is spiritual awakening. And every step counts. Every single step goes towards that sacred journey. So I think we'll pause there.